I decided to rebuild this old battery pack I have. It's from a Ryobi drill, and it just uses standard 18650 cells. And I thought about replacing these cells and putting some other cells I've got out of laptop batteries in it and try to re-weld these into it. So I had to end up buying a hand welder. So I had to go with one of these little spot welders. It's made by SEESII Power Tools. It's the 302 version, the SE 302. I wanted something small that worked really well, but was battery operated so I could carry it around and use it in different locations like my garage. Wanted something strong enough that would be able to put these cells together and weld them good and hold it, but sort of cheap sometimes, so I didn't want to spend a lot of bit of money. So you can get a welder like this somewhere around the, under $40 most of the time, and they seem to work pretty good for most people. So I'm going to test this one out and see how well it works. Hopefully this one works okay. I haven't used it at all. I read the owner's manual on it, just checking what you need to do before you set it up and the settings on it. So I'm going to turn this on. Now note from the instructions on here, if you're going to use this welder, and you got to set it up for the particular thickness of whatever nickel strips you're going to use. So with these, I've got some nickel strips. It's the 0.12 millimeter thickness. So in my settings on here, I'm going to want to change the preheat settings and the gear settings, which this gives you the approximate strength. So the preheat here and the gear settings is basically just a strength from 1 to 100. So this thin of a material I'm going to use, I want to set it to 1 to 25. That's the recommended setting. And then I'm going to test them on these strips and see if I need to raise or lower it any at all. With this spot welder, there's different settings. There's an auto mode and a manual mode. So if you set it in the manual mode, you have to press the power button once you put it on here. So you have to hold it down, press this power button in while you're on there, and it'll weld it. But you can set it up like I've got it in auto mode, and then you can set the delay. So once you put it in auto mode, if you hold this down for a second, is how long I have it set for, then it'll do the weld. So it makes it easier to hold something like this if you're going to weld it. Whereas manual, if you've got something that's in a vise or a grip, you can use the manual and just hold it down and click it whenever you want it. I'm going to test this before I try it on the battery. I'm going to test it on a piece of wood and just use some strips. And it's good with welders like these things to make sure how hot you've got it set. You don't always know. It's going to vary from product to product, but when you try to weld these together, if you've got it set too high, it'll just burn a hole all the way through. And when you're soldering batteries like these, you don't want to have it set so high you burn all the way through into the cell and damage the cell. It can actually heat it up so much it splits into and damages cells and possibly get a cell that's going to catch fire and burn and run away. So you want to be able to weld it at as low a temperature as you can get away with without damaging the cell with it. So at first I'm just going to test this on a block of wood and see how good these strips mount together and make sure I don't have this set too high that I'm going to damage anything. So I'm just going to use this old block of wood and just 2 slices of the strips that come with it. These things, they come with some nickel strips. They also come with some sandpaper and 2 pairs of extra ends on these. So when you're welding, each time you weld, if you've done a project and you've welded 40, 50 different welds, you want to take a piece of sandpaper or a file and sort of round off these edges where the contacts are still good. It'll get a buildup of the material on here and it won't weld quite as well anymore. So right now I've got it set on auto. For the thickness I'm using here, it recommends 25 on the gauge, which is the strength. And just going to set it across here, hold it down, we see what we get. So that arced. It's good to take a look at it. Stuck it together really tight here. That way you can see that on the back side. But you can see where I put this down here, it burned a spot into the wood on it. So it shows you, you need to be careful what you're welding these things on. But that seems to be a good setting at 25. If I go any harder than that, I can't even pull these apart. If I go any higher than that, it's probably going to burn through the strip, and then you start damaging the battery. So like I said, it's good to look at the instructions and whatever welder you get and make sure for the thickness of the strip, use the right settings where you don't damage anything. So I'm going to test it out on the batteries and see how well they work. These are some older cells I've got that I took out of a laptop, but they seem to charge up well and hold a good charge. So I've got enough of them that I'm going to take this apart in the future and replace these cells, and hopefully I can get another working battery with it. So I'm going to test and see how good this works with here. I've still got it set on automatic, so I don't have to put my hand on here if I don't want to. See, it arced, but it was strong enough to get it stuck on there good. So yeah, that's a strong hold. Any higher temperature than that may have caused damage, but you want it just hot enough that it's going to fire the arc and hold on to the battery tight. So it's good to test on a battery the surface you're using itself, because the battery and the strips don't always stick together the same. So it's good to test it first. And yeah, that's on there tight. See how hard it takes to pull it. I'm going to pull really hard here. Yeah, so just the 25 setting, this had more than enough power to weld these things together without any issue. So looks like I'm going to like this so far. I'd had a long time ago an old spot welder that was a big device that basically had a power system that sat on the desk, and then you had two individual hand probes that you had to hold it, and it was a little unwieldy. With this, having the two pieces together, you might not be able to adjust the spacing very much, but for projects like batteries, that sort of thing, it's set up at about the perfect position with it. So if you look here on it, I can change these settings by clicking this. That'll reduce the preheat on it. And then the gear setting is just the temperature, so how strong the arc is. So if I want to increase that or decrease it, I click the buttons on the top. And then to scroll through, I press the power button. Again, is also the function button. And I can switch that to manual. And it'll only fire off an arc when I press it in. So with it, you can't do like the automatic and just hold it. You have to hold it in and get it, make sure you got it right. Press the button. And if you don't have it dead on, it won't do anything. And that's all you got to do with this. Looks like it's going to be a good little spot welder. So I'll make a video in the future of me rebuilding this pack, and I'll use this spot welder, and hopefully we'll get this thing going again, and I'll have a new battery pack that works. So if you like this spot welder at all, I'll put a link in the description below where you can find it and the cost of it. And I'll try to look online. If I ever find any coupons that I can find a discount for this, I'll also put it in the comments too, to try to get it as cheap as possible. If you're like me and try to find something as cheap as you can get, then that might help you out a little bit. But like I said, look in the description below. If this helped you out at all, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.